At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on the Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your hosts, Soulblazer and George.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Super NES Podcast, episode number 111 coming at you this time. Our last planned episode, for the year, and we picked a doozy of a game to finish 2018 out on. I'm Greg. He is George.
Oh, sorry, I'm speaking alien.
Hey, that just does. Well, you have to admit that just voice was pretty good at the time.
Right?
Yes, we're covering a game that I have some personal nostalgia for, so we would have gotten around to it eventually, but this has been a popular reader. Yeah, I'll be okay. Listener suggestion for us to cover. I thought
You tell me people can't read this podcast?
I was thinking reader because people have been communicating this to me in writing, so that's how I'm kind of thinking about it. But they're listeners, so but
At least I hope they're listening. What if they're viewing this podcast?
How'd that even work?
I don't know. They set up hidden cameras.
Oh boy, no. But but no, seriously. Seriously, would be fun to do a live stream of this podcast at some point next year. So, but anyway,
Just adds more to the production. But yes,
we're covering a game that's very confusing to people because it's confusing people because it's known by different names depending upon where in the world that you are.
Doki Panic.
So its original European name is Another World. We know it here in North America as Out of This World, and in Japan the game's called Outer World. So, depending upon where in the world you are,
What is the actual Japanese name?
I don't know. I did not write that down.
Wow, that's a very long name.
I would not be surprised if it was long. But we will call this game Out of This World because that's how we in the United States refer to it as.
Didn't they do a thing at some point? It was just no, this is just the title. This is just the title of all the games.
Well, they may have done that with the remake, which we'll get to here eventually, but
Yeah.
But since it's coming up right now, I'll just mention it here. The reason the name changed was because that Interplay, the publisher of the Super NES version of the game, didn't want the name to get confused with the soap opera, the same name. So.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
There's actually a soap opera called that?
There was one called Another World. I'm not sure if it's still on or not. It may have gone the way of the dodo by now. But, yeah, so...
That definitely sounds like a really bad one that probably died after, 3 years or something.
No, it was very long-lasting, but most soaps have gone off the air now by this point. So
Did you know this originally, or did you learn this by research? This is what I want to know.
I knew this originally, yes, because...
Because you used to watch it?
Well, no, because magazines at the times, game magazines at the time, such as Nintendo Power, the cover of the game, mentioned the reason the name change.
Oh, weird. Okay.
So, but
that's weird.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is a game we're going to cover eventually because it's a very groundbreaking game. So, George, did you have any history at all with this game?
No.
Really? Huh. 20-year-old game as popular as legendary in the industry as this one. Never played it because it's available for Mundo platforms. We'll mention here in a bit, but yeah. So this game was originally developed by a guy named Eric Chahi who's French, for a company called Delphine Software, and it originally came out for the Amiga and the Atari ST computers in 1991. And the game was very groundbreaking when it came out because it was pretty much a one-man project. He spent over 2 years working on it, like by himself, with only small bits of help every now and then, small bits of help of decoding and bugging, that kind of stuff. The only other person who really contributed major help to this game was the person who composed the soundtrack. And this game is very, and this game made quite an impression when it came out, because it used very sophisticated at the time rotoscoping techniques, such as how the Prince of Persia games played to their graphics. So this was also used. So this technique was also used like other games that Delphi came out that Delphi developed later on, such as like Flashback.
I remember that game.
But yeah, Flashback's tough. It's a fun game. That's a hard game.
I think I own that for the Jaguar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This game also was important for several other reasons. For example, the presentation of it. There's very little story. Everything's like inferred to you and pieced together as you play through the game. There's an intro, but there's no words. There's no voice. There's nothing really. The manual is also very vague on this. There's nothing really telling you what's going on. You have to just play the game and figure out figure out things like as you go along. So, because there's a story, a decent story actually, like at the time. But like I said, the game was also unique when it came out because of that presentation style that it used. And also the game made quite the impression because because of how unique an adventure game that it is. It's primarily an adventure game. There are some platforming and some action parts to it. But by and by, this is a platformer game, and it plays and handles in a very weird way. Your character, for example, has a very odd motion to him. Lester, the main character in the game, he moves in a very smooth and articulated manner, but and this was true with the PC versions as well as the NES port. It takes a bit to get used to. Just how Lester operates. Once you figure out how far he can run, jump, that kind of stuff, it gets a lot easier. But at first, that very unique control style takes a bit to get the hang of.
I mean, it's definitely different from something that wasn't like rotoscoped and tried to make realistic. You know what I mean? Like you play like Super Mario Brothers, and then you go and play this game. It's like, whoa, this is really weird. And then you realize this is more realistic than, Super Mario Brothers or whatever. So, of course, you're gonna have to get used to it. But it definitely, I don't know. It wasn't too hard to get used to, at least for me, because I'm used to seeing games like this nowadays, where it's like trying to be more realistic, and yeah, the jumping's weird because you don't just jump straight up and then use your momentum. Like you have to run and use that momentum to jump, and then you get the distance and this and that and the other thing. So
right, yes, yeah,
it's very impressive to see in this era, honestly.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it took a lot of time and effort to get it right, also. So
certainly, yep. Yes.
Delphine Software was a pretty small French company. Well, I say small because they didn't publish a ton of games during their lifetime, but most of the games they published, it's a pretty good track record actually, like that company. They were around from 1988 until 2004, then they shut down. And during that time, of course, besides the Outer World franchise and the Flashback franchise, they're most known for their Motor Racer franchise. Have you heard about that one, George?
Maybe. Give me a refresher.
Motor Racer was a very popular combination action racing game. Originally came out in 1997 for the DOS and PlayStation, and there were many games in that franchise over the years.
No, I don't think I've heard of it.
Yeah, the company's very last released game was Motor Racer Advance for the GBA in 2002. So, other games they developed. They also developed Darkstone. Have you ever played that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't.
That was another Interplay published kind of like a dark fantasy cyberpunk game.
Is that? I'm trying to think if it's the game that I'm thinking of. Give me a little more of an explanation on that one.
Oh, but I wasn't prepared for that question. Let me look it up.
Well, it wasn't a question; it was a demand. No, but
I've not played it myself.
I think I know what you're talking about, but like, it's really hard to think of video games because sometimes it just turns. Sometimes like all these names just melt together like
sure,
right.
Like
you melting crayons, and it's just. And they have 3 different colors, and
the full name of the game is Darkstone, like Darkstone Evil Reigns.
What platform is this?
Both PC and PlayStation. It's an action RPG game.
I might actually have this game, but I have not played it.
Well, there's also a remake, and I didn't know this. Published in 2014 for the iPad, iPhone, and Android phones.
I didn't even know that either. Yeah, no, I think this is the game I was thinking of. Yeah. I actually own this for PlayStation, but I have not played it.
Yeah, it got good reviews. It just didn't sell very well.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I definitely have to check that out now, though.
Hey,
look at that! I learned something.
And so this company Delphine also developed one of the most infamous infamous video games of all time, Shaq Fu.
Oh no. No. All right, that's it. I quit. Goodbye.
So Out of This World, like I said, it was very, very popular. So even though it started out like in the Amiga, like the Atari ST, it ported numerous systems. Interplay picked up the rights to be able to publish in North America the Super NES, the Genesis, and the in the Game Boy. Yeah, the Game Boy.
Game Boy?
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance.
GBA. Okay. I thought you meant like original Game Boy. It's like, how did they do that game?
Oh no, I'm sorry. The Interplay got the rights to publish it for the Super NES, the Genesis, the Apple IIGS, and also the Mac OS. So that game was published in 1994 for all those systems. It also came out on DOS. That was handled by a different company, and the GBA version that came later.
Oh, cool.
The game also came out. The game also came out later on for the Sega CD. But that version of the game included both this game and both this game like a sequel, to which called Heart of the Alien. Was not developed by Delphine, so they didn't have anything to do with it. But the game was popular enough that Sega wanted a sequel, so a sequel got developed. So
yeah, I do want to see like a playthrough of that or something.
Heart of the Alien is not bad. The game is very similar graphics and gameplay. The main difference in that game, like you're playing as Buddy, Lester's alien friend, instead. So that's the main difference between them. So there was also a live action fan film created for Another World by a Polish filmmaker in 2014.
Okay then. I guess a lot of people love this game.
Yes. There was also a Jaguar version being developed, but that version never got finished. So this game's also gotten this game's also gone through two major remakes. The first one was several years ago, 2006, called the 15th anniversary, which came out for the Pocket PC and also for Windows XP. that game used the higher resolution of modern computers to be able to improve the graphics somewhat. They can also allow like some more detailed backgrounds. And there's also twice as many checkpoints in this version of the game compared to the original to make it a bit easier. And the sounds are also remixed. Those are the major differences. In 2011, another remake of the game came out called the 20th Anniversary. Not really creative on the titles, but it works, right? So, that version of the game has gotten major releases. That's available currently on the, let's see here, the iOS, the iPhone, Android, Steam, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, Vita, Wii U, 3DS, and the Switch. So pretty much anything out there you can play that, like the 20th Anniversary on. This version,
I see that.
This version features this is a pretty major remake. You have the option of playing either in between the original, like between the original, like the high definition graphics. You can use either touch controls, like the D-pad. There are three different. You now have the option to set the difficulty at three different modes. The sound effects and the music are redone. Like also the PlayStation versions. The PlayStation versions of the game allow for cross-platform functionality.
What? Okay.
So like you can start it on the, for example, you start on the PS3, finish at the PS4, that kind of stuff. So, but.
Oh, what crossplay?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So
transferring. Sorry, I don't think anyone gets that joke.
And the original developer of the game, like Eric Chai, was involved in both the 15th, was involved in both the 20th anniversaries of the game. Right. He left gaming for quite a while after leaving Delphi, but Ubisoft did publish his last game in 2011 called From Dust. I never heard of it, but
oh no, I remember that game. Let's move on. Let's not even talk about it.
That bad, huh?
I just said let's not talk about it.
Poor Eric.
Yes.
So the Super NES version of this game, as I mentioned before, is published by Interplay. The development of this game is very interesting. It was fraught with problems. However, Interplay hired a very good developer, to work on the Super NES version, the Super NES version of the game. Somebody who you may have heard of, before George, actually. The Super NES port, the Super NES port, this game was handled by Rebecca High. I believe you pronounce your last name like Heinemann. I should have looked it up. I apologize. So,
okay.
I may have mentioned Rebecca on this podcast before. I think I have. She has a very long history in the game industry. She was actually born to he. He was born like William. They had a sex change operation in 2003. There are several programmers who have had sex change operation. I'm not sure if there's a connection or whatnot. It's kind of interesting.
Is that the proper term anymore?
I don't know. And
I know a lot of people like to say they made their change.
Change? Okay, yeah.
Or transformation, or actually, I don't know. Their change. They usually say transition. That's what I was thinking of. So. I'm thinking of. Yeah. I'm thinking of Ditto from Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So sorry about that. My intention is not to offend anybody out there. I was just trying to struggle with the right quote unquote PC term for that is these days. So, but she's also a very good game player. When Atari had their National Space Invaders Championship in 1980, for 20th port, she was the grand prize winner. So, over the years, she was a founding member of Interplay Productions. That she also worked for Barking Lizard Technology, Electronic Arts, Bloomberg, Microsoft, MacPlay, Ubisoft.
Wow.
She's currently the CEO of a company called Old Skull in Seattle, Washington. Some of the other big games that she worked on was a Task Times in Tone Town, which is I
have no idea what that is.
I believe it's Looney Tunes. Let me confirm that.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, it's an adventure game. She also programmed Bard's Tale 3.
Okay.
She also worked very heavily on some lesser known games such as like Mind Shadow, Borrowed Time, Battle Chess, and Tracer Sanctum. Well, Battle Chess is not lesser known. That's a very popular game. But
so popular, I never played it.
You should. It's a great game. But that's also,
maybe I'll try it someday.
That also got remade on Steam a couple years ago, so you can get it on there like for cheap. So, but
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
She also worked on the 3D version of Doom, and she also worked on the Apple II. She also worked on the Apple II GS version of like Space Ace. So,
all right.
So
it's a massive track record.
Yes, exactly. So there's this very good interview with her online, which talks about like her history. I'll try to remember to include. So I'll try to remember, try to remember to include a link to that when this go live. It's a very detailed article talking about her history and her experience, fun experience of the game industry and whatnot, and just that. And there's also a section on there talking about her port with Another World, because Interplay wanted the port to be done well, since the game was so popular. And she talks about all the challenges and problems she had trying to get the game to fit on the Super NES. So, for example, Interplay didn't want to pay for Super Super FX chip. And she also didn't want to spring for the biggest card size available because of money, of course. So she had to find a way to use static RAM, like the DMA, to be able to get the frame rate on the game to match original computer versions. Interplay wouldn't pay for static RAM, so she had to use fast ROM instructions.
Oh, jeez.
So just a real challenge, but. In the end, I think she succeeded. This game handles very, very well. This is my first introduction to the game was the Super NES port of the game, because I had seen the game before on the PC, but I never played it. But the Super NES version of the game, my first exposure to it. And since then, I've gone back and played it played it like on the computer version of the game. And yeah, the Super NES version of the game, she did a very good job. Super NES version of the game is very smooth. It flows very well. I mean, there is some load time, which is strange for a card, but it can't be helped because just how big the game is.
Hey, just because it's flash memory does not mean that there is no loading time.
Exactly. So, but we talked about this a little. We talked about this like a bit before, George. The controls in this game just take a bit to get used to. But once you do, they're very smooth. Yeah. Did you think the frame rate in this game was good? Did you have any problems with it?
There were times where the frame rate really tanked, but otherwise, under lower pressure situations, this ran pretty well. It was a good job. But yeah, no, there were sections where the frame rate was I don't want to say terrible, but it was definitely there were times where it was just it definitely started getting slow.
I didn't have that issue. I wouldn't have maybe
really.
I wouldn't have maybe like an emulation thing, which could be.
I don't know.
I definitely remember playing it. I definitely remember playing in a cart back in the day, not having that issue.
I'm not using SNES 9X anymore. I'm using MedNFN for that because it just makes it easier.
I know nothing about that emulator. Yeah,
but I don't think it would have called. Maybe it did. I don't know.
Right.
So maybe it was an emulation issue.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Trivia note. Another world, or out of this world.
Just use one title and stick to it.
I know.
It doesn't matter. Even if you just call it Another World, doesn't matter. We know what you're talking about.
This was the only game to get directly ported from the Super NES like the Apple II GS, because they both use the same.
Really?
They both use the same microprocessor.
I did not know that. That is some interesting information.
So, Yeah.
I actually learned something this episode.
Oh, I didn't mention. There's also like a 3D. There's also a 3D port like this game. That version of the game is very different, however, because it uses like raster graphics backgrounds instead. So, but why I have no idea. But
because it's the 3DO, man.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I don't know. That's my excuse for everything. I don't know.
Nintendo did insist upon some very slight changes to the game because of censorship, of course, but those two changes being like, some of the enemies secreted a chemical that looked especially the I'm not sure what they're called, the piranha mouth traps on the ground that you gotta just jump over.
Did you really have to use the word secrete?
Sorry, like it fits.
That sounds nasty. Ugh.
Well, if you die in the original version, the version, a very blood-like substance comes out, and it's like Nintendo made Interplay change that to not look like so bloodish, I suppose you could say.
Are you sure it just wasn't straight up blood?
Well, in the original game, it was blood, yes, but like I said, this is one of the two examples of censorship in the game.
Right.
The other one was, I don't know how far you got in the game, George. Did you beat this?
No, but I did get decently far.
Did you see the scene where the two of them are in the tank and the escape castle spit off and they crash like in that bathhouse?
Yep.
Well, in the original PC version of the game, you could actually see like a butt crack, like the aliens.
Oh no! The children will be scarred.
Yeah, Rebecca jokes the video I mentioned before that she was made to change a whole 3 pixels of animation for that.
That's ridiculous.
So yeah, those are the two changes that Nintendo made. That Nintendo insisted the Super NES version of the game. Beyond that, everything's here. The Super NES version and the Genesis version also include that open scroll, that opening journal entry from Lester. The original computer version of the game didn't have that. So that adds that adds a little bit of background story to the game. So the story basically for anybody who hasn't played the game is like you play the role of Lester, who's a young physicist. He goes to his lab one day to perform an experiment, but he has the bad luck of performing the experiment at the exact same time that the storm breaks out and lightning hits the building. And lightning hits the building, and as lightning hits the particle accelerator, just after the particle does, causing an explosion, and there's a rift in space-time continuum, and Lester finds himself in another world, literally. So you then have to...
I guess you could call him Lester the Unlikely.
And this game pulls no punches. This game is tough. I mean, if you know what you're doing, it's not. If you know what you're doing, it's pretty quick. The walkthroughs of this game online are just a half an hour long. But
well, the thing is, it's difficult in a sense of you need to know what to do.
Exactly. And figuring that out requires a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, there are a couple of areas where you kind of need some type of skill, but a lot of it's just like knowing what to do. And if you don't know what to do, yes, it's going to extend how long you're playing the game.
And the game gives you no clues or hints.
I love games that do that. No, I don't. I don't actually.
I am so glad I had an Super Nintendo Power like this game as a kid because of because there are definitely areas that I got stuck at.
So you can lose the value of your game by beating in about half an hour.
Oh, it did take me that short. I still spent I still spent a whole week on it.
Oh, okay,
but
that's not bad.
The game does have a continued feature, which is a.
Oh, could you imagine dying and starting at the beginning of the game again?
Well, the original computer version of the game had a password feature instead because they didn't have the save ability. So that's one difference that the console versions had.
Right.
The computer version of the game also had a copy protection wheel, wheel as part of it because, of course, PC games.
Well, of course, yeah.
So, so. Right off the bat, the game requires you to take the quick and prompt action because the game starts with you ending up in a pool, and if you don't get out of that pool immediately, vines in the bottom will reach up and grab you, like in then drag you down and eat you.
That sets the mood for the rest of the game.
Yep.
Yep. It just right out of the gate, it's like, hey, this is what the game's like.
There are numerous scenes in this game where it's like trial and error. You just have to go through it like 15, 20 times to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get past this? So,
yeah. Sometimes you get lucky, but sometimes you don't.
To the game's credit, though, the death scenes are cute. I do like the death scenes.
Describing the death scenes as cute is kind of freaking me out right now. That's kind of like oh geez, never mind. Why would you call the death scenes cute? It's not like that's just a weird thing to say, honestly. Look how cute it was that he got his face ripped off by this weird thing in the ground.
Well, I was thinking specifically about the alien blasters integration animations. I just love that for some reason. Like I always have. Like, you know, like first the first person who glows, then they vanish, leaving behind the charred skeleton behind, and that skeleton stays for 7 seconds. Like, and the charred skeleton like dissolves like in pieces. Like the right way.
I like the little sting when you die.
Oh yeah, those little worm things at the start of the game.
No, I'm talking about like the actual like the music that plays when you die.
Oh yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lester can kick those worms at the start of the game.
Those worms are nothing. I knew to kick them right away.
But you also get a laser blaster in the game, like very shortly on, and the game doesn't tell you this. But the game, this is another case of trial and error. The laser blaster actually has 3 different settings, and you need to use all 3 different settings during the game.
I don't think finding out the settings on the gun is actually bad. I don't think that's ridiculous. Because if you're shooting a gun, you're gonna think like, oh, is there a way to like rapid fire this maybe if I hold it down? Oh wait, there's this blue orb. Oh, interesting. You know, I feel like figuring out the gun without like looking it up or anything is actually not a bad deal compared to figuring out some of these puzzles or whatever you want to call them.
Okay, that's fair to say about from like level 1 to level 2, but how many people figured out like level 2, level 2 to level 3?
You just hold it for longer and see what happens.
Well,
that's what I would have done, honestly.
I guess, but I mean, like, so I did get it eventually as a kid, but like I said, just trial and error.
Because the way that I think of at least would be is, oh, if I hold this, it does the shield, but like, what happens if I just hold it forever? Is there like a time limit and then the shield gets stronger, or what happens? Like, that's kind of the way that I would take care of it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I know there are games, and I know they're more modern, but there are games where like you charge like a weapon or whatever, and a lot of those games, they're like, all right, you're done charging. We're just gonna automatically shoot it. So I don't know.
Yeah, we should talk about the gun like real quick. Level 1 is your basic.
It looks like the Master System gun.
It does, yes, actually.
It looks like the gun from Zillion, and Zillion's a Japanese only anime. Actually, I think they made a whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna get into it, but yeah.
No, yeah, I think the fans did dub did dub the series eventually. But anyway.
They subbed it.
Subbed it, yeah. Sorry. Yep.
They did bring some episodes over on VHS, like around the time it actually came out. But it was
really?
Like it wasn't even all the episodes.
Okay.
And it was really weird. I think it was like included with some Michael Jackson music video or something. I forget. Yeah,
weird.
it's really weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. I do not suggest watching those the dub.
Oh, real quick. Sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier. We're talking about the Jaguar port. The Jaguar version of the game, and I did not know this. Later doing research on this, was finished by a small company called Retro Gaming Retro Gaming Connection in 2013.
I think I might have heard of this.
Yeah, it got a limited. Yep, it got like limited release, and his full blessing like a chai. So
Awesome.
yep. Anyway, the gun in the game has.
You gotta play something on that Jaguar.
Ouch. No, yeah, the collector's market, the homebrew market for the system's really been very strong the last several years.
I should probably start paying attention to that,
Yeah.
actually.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive, but a lot of like good games have come out for it. So, anyway, back to another world. The gun's your main tool in this game. As I mentioned before, it has 3 different levels. Level one just a basic like shoot gun. Level 2.
I like a shoot gun.
Level 2 is pretty fun. Level 2 will allow you to make a small like an energy barrier. The should last for limited like amount of time. It protects you from enemy shots, and if you position less than such a way so that his gun is over is past the barrier, you can still shoot enemies and be protected.
I could have sworn that you could still shoot enemies anyway, even if you were not aiming the gun outside the shield.
I never tried. I always assumed you have to like put the gun outside the
That's
barrier,
that's not a bad assumption though.
Yeah.
Like that's a good thing to try anyway. But
Yeah.
I could have sworn I remember
You may
being
be
able
right.
to actually shoot through the shield that you put up.
Yeah. Well, they can't shoot past the shield. Level 3 of the gun. That creates a very powerful energy blast that not
Yep.
only will dissolve barriers, but also will blow away walls.
Yeah, that's what's cool about this game is like some of it's just like you have to destroy things.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I mentioned before. There are action parts to it. The actual action parts like this game. So there's also scenes. There's also like 2 scenes in the game where you have to like run for your life.
I thought that was a lot of scenes in this game.
Well, I mean, there's like literally 2 timed sequences where you have to like rush. If you can't save for a second, like you're dead.
I know one of them is the water part.
Yep, and there's also the alien creature start of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So both of them include water.
Yes, in some way, shape, or form.
Great.
Yes.
Water everywhere, but nary a drop to drink.
Yes. Yeah. So, and you also get an ally in the game who's never named. He's just called Buddy. That's kind of the unofficial name that people have given to him like over the years. Speaks an alien language. The race you inhabit the world that Lester ends up on is not very friendly. As evidenced by the fact at the start of the game, after saving his life, they shoot you and then lock you up in a cage. But they're not very kind to their own people either, because there's a lot of like prisoners and slaves in this game also of the same race, and like your friend did.
They're kind of like an empire.
Yes. Yep.
But like evil Final Fantasy empire.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why. There's no physical differences between them. So
I would love to like read up. Like I don't know if there's anything written about these people, but I would love to read up and see like if there was any history written about these people. It's almost like a Reservoir Dogs type of situation where like you see what's happening before you, but there is almost no story laid out.
Exactly.
And you have to kind of piece together
right. Yeah.
The story yourself. So who knows what the backstory is here?
Yes.
You know?
No. Yeah. And that's definitely one of the things that made the game like very popular, like unique when it came out, because not many games like that. So
Right.
So yeah. So whatever. So for whatever reason, your friend is lucky they're with you, and you and him help him, and you and him help each other during the course of the game. To survive, you're basically just trying to get the heck out of there, and eventually you do. The two of you hop on a flying dragon and fly off somewhere. So, and that's it.
Sounds like you got really high or something. Jeez. But yeah.
So, but yeah, and this was this was it's definitely definitely a very challenging game, because there are parts of the game where like, okay, how do I get past this part? and you have to play through the game like, you have to redo that part like 10, 15, 20 times to figure out how to do it.
Have you tried not dying?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. How to not die? Because unfortunately the game is linear, like most adventure games. You do have to do things in a certain order. So, and if you mess up, there's like one spot in the game I can think about. There may be two where if you don't do things in the correct order, you kind of F yourself and you have to go back and redo it all over again.
Really?
Yeah.
I have not noticed that. Weird.
So, yeah.
Huh.
So, I mean, you can explore a little bit some parts of the game, but the game's still very much on rails. There definitely certain sequence of events you have to perform.
Don't you love when you can play a game and you played it for a decent amount and then you figured out that you screwed yourself over and you can't get any further?
Well,
don't you love that?
Well, luckily, the checkpoint system in the game is very good, I think.
That reminds me of like a handful of CRPGs that I played where it's just
yeah.
Oh, hold on, I'll make a save. Oh no, now I'm completely screwed because I can't get out of this area or whatever, and I keep getting attacked by high-level things or whatever, stuff like that. Or I accidentally dropped this ring in the well, and I need it, but I can't go in the well, and I can't finish the game.
Yeah, early CR games are notorious for that, but this is not that bad. I mean, like the checkpoint system in the game is pretty good. So if you end up doing that, if you end up doing things out of order, you just simply die and you go back to the checkpoint. And then you realize, okay, I have to go do this thing first. It doesn't really back that far. So, but yeah. So music in this game is pretty minimal. There's the opening, and closing pieces. There's musical pieces here and there in the game.
It's all about the ambience.
Yeah. And it's very, very effective. Effective in that sense. Sound effects are very good too. They're very good also. I think. Very appropriate, for the game.
Yeah.
So this game was groundbreaking for a lot of people, and for a lot of people, and but I just don't mean normal game players. There are a lot of important game designers who were inspired by it and took inspiration from this game. Have you ever played Ico, the PlayStation?
I played the demo.
Okay. Fumito, so the creator of that game, Fumito Ueda, directly cited Another World as being the inspiration for making that game.
It's just another one of those situations where I actually own the game and I have not played it.
And Kojima, famous Kojima, said this was one of the 5 games that influenced him the most as a kid.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I said, a lot of people got inspired by this game. So, and I can see why. I mean, even nowadays, I think this game still holds up very, very well. I've not played it, I've not played the 20th anniversary, the 20th anniversary version of this game yet. I did play the 15th anniversary of this game, so, but even playing the Super NES version of the game, I'm still very impressed by it. It still holds up very well today, I think. It's still a very fun adventure game where it's it does things, dare I say this, it's brave enough to do things its own unique way, without really holding the player's hand. It gives you hints. Well, actually, it gives you very, very vague hints. No, it's a very unique, immersive, as you said, imaginative. We have to get very little stories told to you. You have piece things together in your own head of what's going on and whatnot. It's a excellent programming job porting the game over the Super NES. It plays well, handles well, controls well. Really, the only complaints I have with the game is that the checkpoint system could be a little bit more frequent, which is something they addressed in the 20th anniversary, the version of the game, and and I wish the game did give you a couple hints here and there, because there are definitely a couple areas where you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do here? So it's if you don't look it up, for help, I definitely could see being stuck in that area for like days, if not weeks. So it definitely is a very unfairly challenged in a couple areas, I think. But those knocks aside, the game, I think the game's still a lot of fun to play today. It's still a very fun, challenging, unique game. So, and it's like I said, the Super NES version of the game was my first exposure to the game. So I love the game back then. I still love the game a lot now. So being your first time with the game, George, I'm curious to hear your overall impressions, thoughts on it.
Can't wait to play the 50th anniversary. It's an interesting game. I don't know. I think I kind of shared my thoughts on it across this episode. I'm not sure, but it's nicely done. I feel like it's a little too brutal in some areas, but
True.
otherwise, the whole trying to figure it out, feeling around for what to do is never a bad way to make a game. Unless it's like so cryptic where you gotta pick up a piece of cheese in chapter 2 and carry it to the end so you can fight the Ooga Booga monster, but that's not really much of an issue in this game, that example, but like
you actually were very close to a puzzle in King's Quest V. King's Quest V.
I was very close to a puzzle in a lot of older games, correct? Honestly.
No, I mean, literally, to get the best ending in that game, you need to get a piece of cheese, like, somewhere in the game, carry it with you.
Wait, seriously?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
Like I said,
right,
you were not that
cool.
far off.
I never even played that game. All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
I know how to beat the game now.
Actually, side note, like, speaking of, like, adventure games, King's Quest V, like, King's Quest V was actually ported to the NES by Konami. It's a very good port.
Right, I heard about that.
So that's worth playing, I think. But
actually, I think you told me, and you were probably like, "Hey, you should play this."
Yeah, it's a very good port. So, but anyway,
maybe I'll take a look into that.
So I think you and I pretty much agree upon the game's like strong weak points.
I don't think I would ever come back to this game
well,
it's not exactly my type of game, but like, it's definitely an interesting ride.
You should finish it though, at least. You at least see the
I mean, I've seen the end of it.
Okay, yeah.
Not by me playing, but yeah. No, I don't know. There are points where it's just like, I don't know anymore.
Well, yeah. So the sequel, Heart of the Alien, is a pretty good game. Also, like I said, I don't think it's quite as good as this game. It's so fun. For a long time, that game was only available. Like on the Sega CD, because that was the only version. Because that's the console that it was like designed for.
Well, good thing we have emulators.
Yes, that's true. But the game is also. Let's see. Okay. I thought there was another version of the game available. There is, but there is
another version.
Another version, yes. The Amiga is the other platform the platform the game's on. So yeah.
Which one would I rather emulate? I don't even know what Amiga emulation's like.
It's pretty good. It's not bad.
All right.
But
it's good to know.
And I know nothing about Sega CD emulation, so I can't really comment on that.
Sega CD emulation is pretty good. As somebody who uses it once in a while.
Right.
Got to get that Shining Force in.
So there was also apparently a fan effort to port Heart of the Alien using the original source code to make it run on modern computers.
Okay.
I'm looking at this right now. It appears
kind of a moot point since you can emulate the game.
Right. Well, this was done back before that.
Like what year? This was like around the time it was like actually released on actual format, or what?
It doesn't say on here an exact year. Let me see. Well, it's Windows 32.
I'm
Source
sorry,
code.
what did you just say?
It's Win32 source code. So.
Oh. I thought you said it was made for Windows 32, and I was like, Greg, I don't think we got that far yet.
So yeah, probably like late 90s or late 90s probably, if I had to guess.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. Well, there's no point in it now because you could just emulate it.
Yeah.
Go back in time and tell that guy that there's no point because eventually there's going to be Sega CD emulation and everything's going to be right in the world. Well, at least for video games, I should say.
Does Windows 10 still support 32-bit programs?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's more of a, like... to explain it, to make a short explanation, 64-bit operating systems still support 32-bit stuff, obviously, because you know, stuff like Steam and whatnot, like that, those are 32-bit programs still. So like, yeah, but it doesn't support 16-bit, which has been a problem for a while. But like, 32-bit operating systems have backwards compatibility for 16-bit programs.
Right. So.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, I mean, look at. I'm sure a lot of the programs you use are still 32-bit, but anyway.
Oh yeah, probably yeah. So, but anyway, like another
none
world...
of this nonsense. Let's go back to the 16-bit era.
So yeah, Heart of the Alien is a direct sequel to like Another World. It does pick up directly the story like left off. It's important to note, however, like I said before, that Eric Chahi was not involved in this project.
Yeah, has the original creator said anything like, "Oh, is this canon now?" Or
nope, he's disowned it like altogether.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Does not like it one bit.
I mean, I guess that makes sense though.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, Interplay asked for a sequel because the game was popular. They wanted to make the most out of the CD-ROM capabilities. So we started drafting something up, but the concept was totally changed by Interplay, like in house, and he eventually just. Like,
that's rude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
there was a lot of that happened. There was a lot that happened, unfortunately.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. So.
Hey, let's make a game about a cute fuzzy animal. Hey, now he's murdering everybody.
Is that an actual game, or did you just pull that out of your?
What, my butt?
Yes.
I was, but then it reminded me I might have just actually been. I might have actually just been secretly talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day, I guess.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
It was a thing that I did randomly pull up, but then I realized I think it was actually a real game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. One of the things I should also mention, like about Another World, I meant to mention earlier. The game is very clean and streamlined. There's no interface.
There's no need to have an interface.
Well,
you die in like one hit, so you don't need a health meter. You don't need an inventory thing because you only have the gun.
There was one time where a display showed up underwater.
Where
a gauge shows up on the screen telling you how much area you have left.
Okay.
So
I mean, yeah, it'd be helpful to have something like that.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly right. So,
but yeah, like. There's no need to really have a UI or a HUD for this game.
Right. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah. So, anybody who enjoys adventure games, I definitely recommend checking out this game. I still think it holds up like very well. Like I said, I'm curious to see the 20th anniversary of the game. It's available on numerous platforms. So
I can't wait till the 100th anniversary.
Hopefully, we start around to see it.
You know, the world might disappear tomorrow. Who knows?
Right. So the game, the game ranked very, very highly when it came out. The Super NES version of the game, the aggravator score of Super NES ported the game on game rankings is like 84%. So people do think like very highly of this this version of the game. So there is one. I'm not really sure whether to call it a. Yeah, I'm not really sure whether to call it a. Call it a. like to call it like a bug or a feature of the game or whatnot, but there's a trick you can do to help Lester run a bit faster. It's called skipping.
Oh, the jumping thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if you hold the run button and the jump button at the same time, he'll do this goofy little jump run that looks like he's skipping like a kindergarten kid.
It's not too similar, but it reminds me of the jumping bug in Super Mario 64.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I can see that.
It's not exactly like that, but it's kind of the same idea in a way.
So the pro of doing this, it's actually faster than running. So we need to, during one of those time sequences, we need to beat feet. This can be helpful. The con side,
I didn't find that necessary, but it definitely helps if you do it.
The con side of this, if for whatever reason, it seems to make you more likely. It seems to make you a bigger target. It makes you more likely to get hit by a laser fire.
Really?
Yeah. So
weird.
So like I said, I have no idea if this is a bug or this is just a feature of the game or whatnot or something like that. But yeah. So it can help you in certain it can help you in certain in certain spots. So because the game is very popular, the prices on eBay for are pretty cheap. 39 copies of the game are currently being sold on eBay. 40 copies of the game that recently sold. This is just the North American out of this world version of the game, mind you. Because obviously because the game did get released in PAL Japanese lands as well. The card only these prices include shipping. Cards only sold anywhere from $5 to $25. So
wow,
yeah, not bad pricing. CIB is pretty reasonable. CIB is pretty reasonable too. Those range anywhere from $19.25 to $69.50. So, it was definitely fun to go back to this game after all these years. I was very pleased to find out that it holds up so well today.
Yeah, it does and it doesn't.
I think I enjoy adventure games a bit more than you do, George. So
it depends on how the game is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm picky because I'll play games, but there are only certain ones that I really enjoy.
Well, you said earlier that you play Flashback, right?
To test a cartridge, yes. Because I have it on Jaguar and I wanted to test if it worked, and I did, and it worked.
The Flashback is actually very similar to Flat Out This World.
Yes and no.
Well, in many ways, there are differences. There are big differences, of course. That game actually has that game actually has a very detailed, actually explained plot in the game, compared to this game, for example. But they both use the same. Both games use the same rotoscoping techniques. And the jumping and walking and shooting animations are very similar.
Yeah.
So, but Flashback I never finished actually. I need to go back and finish that game up.
There's not an SNES port for it, is there?
I think there is. Let me confirm that.
Oh no.
I want to say that game did come out on Super NES.
Oh no.
Let me see. Let's see. Oh wow. Flashback's used for a lot of things. There was also a remake of this game recently, 2013. I read about that. Yes. Yep, Flashback came on Super NES.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it did. Because I mean, why not? Why not? They were able to get another world ported over, so it's the same engine. So, but maybe I'll just skip the original game. Don't go to like remake. Side note, however, the Super NES version, of Flashback also included like a Marvel comic book that explained the story.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
That was a nice touch. So, okay. So anyway, speaking about like a game similar to Out of This World, this is definitely like a fun game. This is definitely a classic. I definitely can see why some people, like so many like famous designers such as like Kojima were inspired by it. It's like if you enjoy adventure games at all, it's definitely worth checking out. I think because they're very like unique, unique and interesting game. So anyway, I want to thank listeners out there who made the suggestion for us to cover in the first place, and I want to thank everybody out there for listening to the episode as always.
You're welcome, Greg. I'm listening live.
Yes. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, etc., you can find us on our Facebook page, or you can also send me an email directly if you want to at the SNES podcast at yahoo.com. We are a proud member of both the Retro Junkies and the Throwback Networks, where you can find a bunch of other great retro-themed podcasts, both gaming and non-gaming related. This is also the last episode, the last regular game-covered episode, I should say.
This is the last episode of the SNES podcast. It's been great. See you, everybody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. No, just for this year. So, we are talking about doing a special with some kind of Super NES related topic to finish the year up. Those details yet to be determined. So we'll do like one more like a bonus episode for you guys. When we come back in January, however, we're covering a game that George picked. What game did you pick for us this time, George?
Fire Striker.
Yes, I know nothing about this game.
Good, because I know very little about this game.
Really? So what made you pick it?
It looked interesting. It's like a weird pinball fantasy. When I say pinball, it's not a pinball game, but it kind of plays like pinball. It's hard to explain. It'll be an interesting game to cover. I guarantee that, though.
Okay then.
I'm Fire Striker, Twisted Fire Striker.
All right then. So anyway, as always, we very much appreciate you listening to very much appreciate you listening to the podcast. You can find us on on Libsyn, like on iTunes. George, where can people contact you if they're so inspired?
Oh boy, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Chief. That's at MISTURCHEEF. That's about it.
Okay. As always, thanks again for listening to this podcast. And just a word to the warning: if you do any experiments, make sure there's no storms overhead.
No, that makes it better. Makes it better.
Depending on your definition.
You get a friend. Yeah.
And you run for your life.
Well, I mean, that's just every day, right?
And never make it back to Earth.
Well, good. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, before we get more touchy, we're going to end this podcast. Thanks again, everybody.
Goodbye.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Deep power.